Welcome to our house. This is the Screenplay Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Grenis, and with me, as always, PGA Tour player Andrew Novak. Andrew, before you say anything, you're in Vegas this week. Uh,
Yes.
are the reports true that you spoke to Davante yesterday and convinced him to go to the Jets?
Yeah, he was out at the golf course and he was like, "Hey, I think I'm going to go to the Carolina Panthers." And I was like, "You know what? They're a dumpster fire. You probably shouldn't do that." And so then he just went to the Jets instead.
So that's how it went down. But yeah, you're
Yep.
out there in Vegas for what is it this week?
Shriners uh tournament out here every year in Vegas. It's a fun one.
Nice. All right. Well, good luck this week. We
Appreciate it.
got a great episode for y'all. We got trades. We got pettiness at the podium. A lot of separation starting to happen in the league. We're gonna get into all of it. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m., wherever you listen to podcasts. We've also partnered with Wager Games. They're giving our listeners a $100 deposit match on the Sleeper app. Go to our Instagram page and click the link promo code, get your $100 deposit match. I'm looking at it now. I like the Spencer Rattler more than 179 pass yards in the air on Thursday night. All right, let's start off with the Monday night football game. The Bills defeat the Jets 23-20. The biggest story here, obviously, we've already mentioned it. Davante Adams going to the Jets. We'll talk about it in a second, but the actual game here, I thought the Jets offense looked better and I thought their defense looked worse. And it kind of made sense. Got a better offensive coordinator and you lose Salah, your defensive guy. The pre-snap motion was three times greater on the offense than it's been for the past couple of weeks. But the Bills sneak out the 3-point win on an Aaron Rodgers interception at the end. Bills are now in first place of the AFC East. What did you take out of it last night?
Yeah, like you said, the offense did look a lot better. I think a lot of the reason the offense looked better is because they finally figured out how to run the ball. That's not super surprising. The Bills have been quite bad against running backs this year. Whether it's receiving the ball, running the ball, they just have not done a good job of stopping running backs at all. So good get right game there for the Jets, but they couldn't get the win. So falling to 2-4, definitely, you know, kind of putting them in a weird spot. This Davante move is definitely, I don't want to say like desperation, but like they know they need to, improve going forward if they want to be making these playoffs.
Yeah, teams that are 2-4, they have 11% chance to make the playoffs. Do you think the Jets have an 11% chance, or would you give it higher or lower with Devontae coming in?
Uh, as long as Davante's fully healthy, as long as this hamstring thing is just more like a hey, I don't really feel like playing thing. Uh, yeah, I like their chances. I do think that this defense can be better. Um, the rest of this division is not good, so like Dolphins, Patriots, they should be able to beat up on them. And the AFC in general is not super strong. So I do think there is a route for them, but they need to start stacking wins now.
Yeah, I also think it's no question that Aaron Rodgers is the GM, the head coach of this team. He got Hackett in there, Lazard, Randall Cobb. He definitely got Salah fired. Definitely got Devontae Adams in here. He can say all he wants that he didn't have his hands on it, but he's got all of his things that he wants now. If it's not winning, then it's on him. He called out Mike Williams at the podium after the game, and now Mike Williams is on the trade block for the Jets. So he is just controlling this whole operation there. Let's get to Sunday Night Football. Bengals defeat the Giants 17-7. Bengals defense was what I wanted to see. Wanted to see how they came out. I know they were playing the Giants without neighbors, but they held them to 7 points. Got a win, moved to 2-4. If they have any hope at staying alive, they needed that game. They did it. What did you think?
Yeah, it was, like judging the defense playing against a Giants team without neighbors, like they didn't have neighbors or Singletary. Now I understand Tracy's pretty good running back. He's a rookie, he's looked great, but this is not a good offense at all. Like this is what a NFL defense should do. I'm not gonna, come out and say that the Bengals defense looks great. I, they covered in this game, but they still don't look right. Like the Bengals just aren't there yet.
No, the Giants were
I
in it all the way up until Chase
yeah,
Brown scored,
I
even
mean, yeah,
until that missed
exactly.
field goal at the end. Yeah, they were up in the game until the last couple
Yeah,
minutes there.
I mean, they could have if they hit that field goal, onside kick, whatever. Yeah, but yes, uh, I think like the Bengals have some steps they need to take to get better because right now, like it's really starting to feel like the Ravens might just run away with that division. The Steelers, that might be a decent team, but I think they're going to take some losses. The Ravens are just definitely headed in an upward trajectory, and the Bengals are definitely going to be fighting.
I want to talk about the Giants for a second. I just think they're a better team than people give them credit for. I think Daniel Jones is playing a little better than people think he's been playing in years past. But let's take a look at their rookie draft class. I think it's quite amazing. Their draft class really, really good. I want to go through these. Malik Neighbors, obvious hit. Tyler Nubin, their second round pick, safety. He's been pretty good. Uh, Pick 3, Drew Phillips, cornerback who they turned into a nickelback. Good pick. Round 4, they get Theo Johnson, who's looking like a good tight end. Pick
Mhm.
5, that running back you're talking about, Tyrone Tracy Jr. And they did get a 6th round pick as well, but still, that looks like 5 for 5 in their first 5 picks there on hitting. If they turn
Yeah,
out to be good players, I mean, this with Neighbors, they get a
yeah,
couple good draft picks next year. I mean, the Giants moving forward look like they may not be in the worst spot, especially with the Daniel Jones contract getting better each year.
yeah. This is this is something I might touch on later on in the podcast. But yes, I do think that they've done a good job stacking some pieces. Uh, they've got some athletes in there. Uh, as far as weapons, it's definitely gotten a little bit better. Like Tyron Tracy looks like he's got some juice. Neighbors definitely has some juice. Wandale from last draft class fills a role nicely as the underneath guy. It's unfortunate that Hyatt hasn't really popped off like they were
Yeah,
hoping, but maybe he can fill in a deep role at some point. Um, uh, it is what is there, but
all right,
I do agree
yeah,
that
yeah.
like the Giants do have some potential going forward.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. We'll save it for you. Sunday morning football, London, Bears defeat the Jags 35-16. I really thought the Jags had a better head coach and QB combo going into this game, but the Bears proved me otherwise there. Wasn't much of a contest in London. Bears offense was humming against a terrible Jags defense. They roll to a win. Caleb Williams, 23 of 29, 226, 4 touchdowns. Definitely his best game as a rookie. When we look at Caleb Williams' progression so far from week 1 to now, his passer rating every week is just getting better and more consistent. Week 1, his passer rating was 55. Week 2, 51, 80, 106, 126, 124. So these last 2 weeks, passer ratings in the 120 stable off a little bit. They look good. I mean, a lot of the teams in the NFC North look good, but the Bears looked good against the Jags over in London.
Yeah, I don't disagree. As far as Caleb's concerned, any quarterback that plays these Jags is has to go off. If you have a bad game against this Jags defense, like what are you doing? This secondary, this Jags pass defense, like might set records this year for how bad they are. Obviously, Caleb did a good job taking advantage of that, but this is a Jaguars team that is pretty much next few weeks, I think, heading for implosion as far as coaches gone, major changes done. They're going to probably be sellers at the trade deadline. There's definitely going to be some major changes going on.
Do you think the Bears can make the playoffs? The NFC North is looking super strong.
Yeah,
A lot of offense. They're gonna have to play each other. What do you give their odds at?
I think they got a fighter's chance. The problem is like I just don't think they're better than any of the other teams in their division, which just automatically puts them kind of behind the schedule. There's not a ton of depth elsewhere in the NFC, like maybe the NFC South, like you can see some teams. NFC West looks like it might be a little weaker. Like so it's possible that they could sneak a pick. It'd be crazy to see all four teams from one division getting it. Um, but again, I still think they'd be ahead of schedule. If they end with like about a 500 record, and if Caleb keeps showing progression, I still think that would be a win on the season.
Yeah, they played a bunch of not so great football teams to start the
Yeah.
year. They got a little better
So
competition coming, so we'll see.
so how many wins do you think is the most wins of any team they've beaten? So they're
Uh,
4-2. They beat four teams. What do you think the most amount of wins any of those four teams has?
2.
One. They have not beaten a team that has more than one win on the year. They beat the Panthers, the Rams, the Titans, and the Jags. all of those teams have one win on the season.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yes, they have 4 wins, but
I knew it was bad. I
at
didn't know
some
it was
point,
that bad.
yeah, at some point you do have to start playing some better football teams.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to Thursday night football. 49ers defeat the Seahawks 36-24. First three weeks, we thought Seattle was for real. Turned out they just didn't play anyone in the first 3 weeks. They now dropped three in a row. The 49ers are back to first place in the NFC West at 500. Like you were saying, that division is a little weaker this year. Uh, the 49ers looked good. I mean, Purdy, 18 of 28, 255, three touchdowns. Kittle is a red zone machine right now. What did you see out of this game?
Yeah, they were cooking. Obviously, Mason getting hurt did not help, but they pretty much ran at will against the Seahawks defense. The Seahawks defense is not good. Their offense has been great. I love what Ryan Grubb's doing there. Geno's looked really solid this year for the most part. But this defense, they're only going to go as far as them because they pretty much can't stop anybody right now. Obviously, 49ers very good offense, so a little tough to judge there, but they almost had 500 yards of offense. Mason got hurt, backup comes in, still just steamrolling down the field. The only thing that really didn't show up for the 49ers was Brandon Ayuk. He's had a very slow start to the year, but they just really haven't needed him. I think the 49ers are kind of starting to hit their stride. We'll
Do you think
see
this is the
what
year
they.
they have to win it all? I mean, I'm looking at the pieces on the team. I honestly don't know what bank or what salary cap they're using. Like they have Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Trent Williams, CMC, Bosa, Warner. Purdy is the only one out of those ones I named who hasn't been
That's why.
paid. Who hasn't been
Yeah.
paid.
Yeah, when
So
you're paying a quarterback less than $1 million and everybody else is paying quarterbacks $40 million, that can buy you a lot else.
so is this the year they have to do it with how weak the NFC is? With how down we may see the Chiefs, even though they're 5-0?
Yeah, it's still going to be tough. Lions look so good. Packers, I think, are good. Viking, like, there are still threats in the NFC for sure. But yeah, like you can't just keep having close misses. Like you're not just always going to be good forever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're definitely on the clock.
One of the funnier stories this week, I mean, injuries are never funny, but Jake Moody's out, so the 49ers bring in another kicker, Matthew Wright. And what happens to him? He gets injured trying to make a tackle. So now they have to find a third kicker. We'll keep an eye on that for this week. Let's move to the Ravens and Commanders. Ravens defeat the Commanders 30-23. This was a 1 p.m. game. Probably could have, should have been flexed into another window. I wish this was a night game. I wanted to watch it in full. There was just so many games at that 1 p.m. window that I got to see like glimpses of it. We have Lamar Jackson versus Lamar Jackson Jr. Great game. I thought the Commanders did a decent job containing Lamar and Henry. They just came out on the wrong side of it. For a rookie QB and a relatively weak defense, the Commanders were in this game pretty much the entire time. But Lamar is look at the stat line 20 for 26, 323, touchdown. Henry went 24 attempts, 132, two touchdowns. I mean, the Ravens look really, really good. I thought the Commanders played a solid game, and the Ravens just look really good.
Yeah, I don't think the Ravens will lose a football game this year where they finish with more rushing attempts than passing attempts. As long as they stick to that, it's just
Well, that
so
would
hard to
assume
stop.
that they're up in the game and they're running it more too. So that's an easy
Yeah,
bet to
so
make.
it's
But
cheating a little bit, but still, uh, they just it opens up so much for them. Lamar was super efficient passing the ball in this game. A lot of yak for Zay Flowers in this game. Just even Mark Andrews got going in this game, which we had
mhm.
not seen at all previously. It just opened up so many things for them.
Yeah, they've rushed
Washington,
for 150 yards at least in
yeah,
every single game this year.
yeah. I think Washington's going to have to invest in some defense at the trade deadline or something because this offense is definitely getting it done. Um, they're pretty much kind of in shootouts every week because they're having to keep up because the other team just keeps scoring as well.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels went 24-35, 269, two touchdowns. Really good stat line. I want to say, I feel like the Commanders had a game plan here. It was to make Lamar throw it. And when he did, he went for Zay Flowers, 9 for 9,
Mhm.
132 yards. So I think that was the X factor of this game right here. They made him throw it. When he did, he hit his throws. So
Mhm.
they win the game. I want to look at these MVP odds for a second. Lamar is still third in the race at plus 550, despite him having the best stat line out of the MVP race. Lamar's thrown for 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, 104 passer rating. Josh Allen is ahead of him at 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, no picks, 106 passer rating. And then the interesting one is Mahomes, who's leading at 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks, 88 passer rating. I get they're 5-0, but MVP is generally like a stat line type deal, and
Yeah.
Mahomes' stats do not suggest that he's the MVP right now.
Yeah, Mahomes' stats been rough. He's been a little unlucky. A lot of running back touchdowns, a lot of other stuff. But like, yeah, no, flat out, he has not been, you know, the MVP of the NFL so far through this part of the season. I think Josh Allen going with the Bills going and getting Amari Cooper is definitely set up for some success there. Lamar, I think, is going to do great things this year. I think the Ravens are going to be great. You know, he has had 300 yards passing the last 2 games. I don't know how much like volume he's going to get going for. Like, there are going to be games where Lamar might throw like 20, 25 passes. Like, he might have a decent game and just still have 170 yards passing just because they didn't need to. Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of touchdowns, so I don't know how many rushing touchdowns he's going to get. So Lamar's going to do great things for this team. I just don't know how much, when you're looking at the stats at the end, it might stack up overall to give it to him. But he has been playing great so far.
All right. Detroit defeats Dallas 47-9. I absolutely love this. The Lions had a goal coming into this game out of their bye week. Embarrass the Cowboys. They did that. The Cowboys suffer their worst home loss since Jerry bought the team. 250 total yards, 5 giveaways. Dak was on the bench watching this game finish. Is it over in Dallas?
They looked very bad. This is what Dan
That
Campbell
seemed
wanted.
that seemed generous. They looked very
And
bad.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you probably watched this on repeat a few times after this happened. I mean,
I liked
this had
watching
to
the Jerry
make your whole
Jones
week.
blow up on radio on repeat. That did it for me.
Yeah, um, yeah. I just Dallas. They're just not better than these other teams in the NFC. I don't think they're necessarily like a bad team, but they're not better than all of these other NFC teams. They're not better than the 49ers. They're not better than the Packers. They're not better than the Lions. Like, I don't think they're better than the Vikings right now either. So I, I just, I mean, yes, like they're going to keep going for it, but like, no, they're not good enough to win with this current team.
Yeah. If you can't run the ball, then you can't throw the ball.
They
And
don't even try and win the ball.
if you
Like
can't run the
they
ball
really
or
don't.
throw the ball, then you don't score any points. 17 rushes for 53 yards. Uh, I mean, their only weapon is CeeDee Lamb. So if you shut him down, like what do the Cowboys do? He went 7 for 14. That's it. I mean, so the Lions crush the Cowboys. They win the game, but they lose Aiden Hutchinson for the year, broken leg.
Uh,
How big of a loss is that?
Huge. He's been so good this year. And a ton of like pressure metrics, sacks, everything. I mean, he was leading the NFL. He was
Yeah,
looking like
7.5 sacks through 5 games. Granted, a bunch of them came in one game versus the Bucs, but still 7.5.
yeah, but I mean, he's still leading the NFL in pressures, pressure rate. Like
Right.
I mean, freak, absolute freak. He'd been having an incredible year. Like
Do they have
definitely
to?
was
Do you think
probably
they have to go
leading
out and
for.
get someone, or do you think they'll be
So
okay with just riding it out?
I think that they should try and go get Miles Garrett. Don't know how it will work salary cap wise, but the Cleveland Browns are clearly sellers right now. They're pretty much done. Deshaun Watson in that contract pretty much means that they're going to be done for the next few years as well. They might as well sell Miles Garrett, get what they can now, and just attempt a rebuild. I think that would be a perfect fit for the Lions. Plug Miles Garrett in for Aiden Hutchinson, and your defense is right back where it was, basically.
Yeah, I guess the other side of that would be Max Crosby, who's kind of in a
Okay,
similar
Max
situation
Crosby's
over
fine.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, both of them probably fit the culture up there and plug and
love it.
play. Yeah. Let's look at golf for a second. 18 for
Actually,
25. Say that again.
Matt Crosby played at Eastern Michigan too, didn't he? So he's a Detroit
So
guy.
I don't know.
I think he played at Eastern Michigan. I think,
Big contract, but
but anyway.
yeah, we'll see. Let's look at Goff's stat line for a second. 18 for 25, 315, 3 touchdown, no picks. He started the year terrible. He was down there at the bottom with like Bryce Young. But last 2 games, 36 of 43, 84 completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, no picks. pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah,
I think Goff's found his footing.
yeah,
Let's go over to Eagles defeating the Browns 20-16. There was a game played between these two teams, but it felt like all the storylines were not about the game at all. All the storylines were about off the field things. You have Nick Sirianni yelling at his own fans. You have Stefanski defending Deshaun Watson at the podium just because of ownership. You can see it in his face and his eyes. He's like, Deshaun sucks, but I have to say he's our starting quarterback because of what we're paying him. Uh, Amari Cooper gets shipped off to the Bills. So a lot of storylines, almost none of them about the game. Are the Browns officially in tank mode? I mean, you just suggested selling Myles
I think
Garrett,
they
so
have to be like. It, I mean, they're 1-5. Like they have the Ravens in their division. They're not winning their division. They don't have an NFL caliber quarterback, and they refuse to put the backup, who has actually had some decent years, in just to even see it. Like the front office is so scared of just like being seen as like idiots for this Deshaun Watson deal that they just refuse to let it happen.
they're
And
the
at this
Browns.
point,
Like they
like
kind of already look like idiots no matter what. So what I feel like if you
exactly,
cut ties now, it's like, oh, that's the smartest thing y'all have done in the past 10
exactly.
years, 20
It's
years,
not like
30
it's
years.
not like just it's not like Deshaun is likable. It's not like if you kick him to the curb, everybody like, okay, good. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on in Cleveland, but like realistically, that falls in line with pretty much most things they've done for the last 15, 20 years or longer.
All right. What about Nick Sirianni? I think his coaching time in Philadelphia is over. Like even if he finishes the year, I think it's over. I don't think there's anything that saves his maybe a Super Bowl. I could see them like still like even if they got to the NFC Championship game, I could see them letting him go and bringing in somebody else. No points in the first quarter have the Eagles scored all year.
All year.
They just come off a
Yeah,
bye. You have an entire 2 week
yeah,
time to practice. No points. It's embarrassing. I don't think no matter what happens the rest of the year, Nick Sirianni, I don't see the Eagles firing him mid-season unless something crazy happens, but he's just not a head coach, and
yeah.
I think his time is over. It's the fans have lost him. Those Philadelphia fans are not nice.
I would say that's the one fan base you definitely do not want to lose as a head coach, because you're going to hear about it every single game for the rest of the year. And yeah, I mean, he's kind of dug his own hole here. The Eagles, as far as a team, they're 3-2. They haven't looked terrible. They have AJ Brown, Davante Smith back. That seemed like a nice little combo. Hurts actually had a decent
That
game
makes
here
it
against.
worse though. You have Saquon, you have
Yeah,
both your receivers back, you have Jalen Hurts, and you can't score any points in the first quarter. It
yeah,
All right. The Bucs defeat the Saints 51-27. Dennis Allen and Clint Kubiak are on fire. Oh no, sorry. That was my week 2 notes. My bad. Saints drop their fourth in a row. They start Spencer Rattler. They lose Chris Olave. Meanwhile, Baker leads the league in touchdown passes, drops a 50 burger on the Saints, and learns that their second year running back, Sean Tucker, is a dude.
yeah,
What'd you think of this game? What'd you think of Spencer Rattler? Uh these divisional NFC games are always high scoring, but 50 points is a
yeah.
lot.
This game was so weird. Buccaneers immediately go up 17-0. Then the Saints in the second quarter just 27-7 run, take the lead, and then the Buccaneers win the second half 27-0. Like none of it made sense. Buccaneers just dropped 50 points with Baker throwing 3 picks. I'm not sure that's been done before. Uh,
That might be like a Jameis stat. I mean, he's probably done that.
Actually, that yeah, it probably has been done before by the Buccaneers. Uh,
It probably has been done by Jameis with the Bucs. Yeah.
uh, yeah, I mean this offense was cooking. Sean Tucker looked super super impressive. Obviously, great player in college. They drafted him. A lot of people were on him last year, thinking that he might kind of be a guy. Didn't really pan out, and then all of a sudden, boom, Rashad Whiteout gets an opportunity here and blows up.
Yeah, the
Um,
most popular trending up player in all of fantasy leagues after that
yes,
big week.
yes. I mean, he can do it all. He's very good pass catcher. Caught a ton of passes in college at Syracuse, and showed off some of that pass catching and explosiveness this past week. So I don't know what the Saints 2-0, 45 points a game, looking like maybe the best team in the NFL, and then just 4 games skid. Like
What did you think of Spencer Rattler though? I mean, I didn't watch the entire game, but I thought for what I saw out of him, like I thought
he
he looked okay.
looked good at the start. He looked good. He was pretty efficient. Kind of had it going. He made some good plays with his legs.
Yeah,
But
I liked his leg work. I think they
as the
started
game kind
blitzing
of
him more
went,
and he couldn't handle it. But
yeah, as the game went, it definitely fell off a little bit. I- it's kind of tough. Like it's your first start, and then you just like lose your number one wide receiver like instantly out the
right.
gate. Like that definitely hurts.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was terrible, but yeah.
if any of y'all listening get some time, Google Saints depth chart. Just Google it, click on the first link, ESPN, whatever it is, and see the offense and defense for the Saints right now. Basically every starting player is IR, questionable, doubtful. It's just red all over the place. We'll get to our last game here that we're going to talk about. Texans defeat the Patriots 41-21. I had red zone on, but I also had this game on a corner TV. I wanted to see what Drake Maye looked like out here playing a full game. Uh, he threw for more touchdown passes this week than we have all season. So that gives us Patriot fans a little bit of hope. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought he looked fairly calm out there. Uh, in the actual football game, the Texans destroyed the Patriots. It was never a game. I thought they were going to score 70 points at one point after watching the first quarter. Uh, but yeah, I was impressed with what Drake May did. He had some nice passes. I think he had a deep
Mhm.
one there, Demario Douglas, that just it looked real good. I thought he wasn't over his head. If we get him an O line, looks like he could be a pretty good
Yeah,
quarterback. I think he's a little more mobile than people thought too. 5 rushes, 38 yards. Uh, the Houston Texans get Mixon back, and their offense just clicked right back in place.
yeah. No
What'd you
Nico
see?
Collins, but they still just Cam Akers is terrible. Damian Pierce wasn't getting it done. I mean, it, this helps open up so much of the passing game, having that threat of a run game. I like what you were saying about Drake May. I thought he did look good, man. I think the Patriots might have found something. He did run it a lot in college. Um, I guess doesn't look like a freak athlete, but he does move well, use his legs well, and I think if you can put some pieces around him, he might be able to do something. This Texans defense is quite good. It's a very good defense, and he looks solid against them. So
Yeah, we're playing the
I'd love to
we're
see what
playing the
he
Jags defense this week, so
exactly.
I definitely want. I mean, it's the only game on at that time, so we will
Yeah.
all see what Drake May has.
Yes.
This year coming up in the draft, though, the Pats are still going to have a high draft pick.
Hmm.
And if Drake May plays pretty well throughout the rest of the year, we can focus on taking some O line players, get him some help, and then maybe we'll be okay in a couple of years. All right, let's get to our power rankings. At 10, we got the Bills, 4-2. They just acquired Amari Cooper, 21-5 against the AFC East. James Cook was out, but they still ran the ball pretty good. Allen has no interceptions this year. At 9, we got the Bucs, 4-2. Number 2 run game in the NFL. Baker leads the league in touchdown passes. They have 4 games of 30 plus points. Falcons at 4-2. They beat the Bucs, same record, so they got to go in front of them. 2-0 on the road. Cousins is pretty good leader down there in Atlanta and consistent. Their defense is kind of only like 5 sacks on the year. That's the only kind of weak part I'm looking at there. 7, we got the 49ers, 3-3. They're getting healthier. Purdy playing well. They've led by 10 plus points in 5 out of 6 games. They got the number 2 pass offense, number 3 rush offense. At 6, we got the Packers, 4-2. They lead the NFL in turnover differential and lead the NFL in big plays. Kind of a nice little combo there if you got both of those going. Jordan Love is number 2 in the league in pass touchdowns, and he's missed 2 games. At 5, we got the Texans, 5-1. Mixon back, offense clicking. 41-21 at New England. Terrible division. 5-1. They're coasting. At 4, we got the Ravens, 4-2. Number 1 rush offense, number 1 overall offense. Lamar versus the NFC, his record is silly. Took another one this week with the Commanders. Number 3, we got the Lions, 4-1. Hutchinson out for season. That is a big deal. They still have the best O line. They got a tougher schedule coming up, and Goff has looked a little better. So we'll see how they do over these next few weeks to stay there. At 2, we got the Vikings, 5-0. just had a bye. Nothing happened, so they're staying at 2 from last week. They got the Lions this coming week, so we could see some repositioning in the power rankings. And then at 1, we got the Chiefs 5-0, another team coming off a bye. They are playing the 49ers this week. So there is some possibilities for some shuffling going on in the top of the power rankings with some of these matchups. 6 NFC teams in the top 10. I have 8 NFC teams in the top 12. What do you think about these rankings?
I think that kind of falls in line with what we've seen. I think overall the NFC has a little bit more depth. A lot of surprise teams in the sorry, in the NFC. The Bears have been a decent
I got the
surprise. I think the
Bears at 12
Commanders,
right now, which would
yeah,
put 4 NFC North teams in the top 12.
yeah. The Commanders have definitely been a surprise, and even I'd say that Falcons, Buccaneers maybe a little bit better than what some people expected. So yeah, I think we've seen that in the NFC, and then you've got teams like the Bengals and the AFC that have just not really lived up to what people were expecting.
Yeah. All right. What do you think was the best win this week?
I think Detroit, like what they did to that Cowboys team, was so impressive. That game was so unbelievably one-sided, and for a lot of people think the Cowboys are a playoff team. To do that to that kind of level team uh, is just silly.
Yeah. Because Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, I don't know if it's the best win. Um, I feel like every team that was supposed to win their game
Yeah,
kind of won.
yeah,
I'm in a pool where you just pick winner of the games, not based on spread. I believe 5 people went perfect this week. That's hard to do.
yeah,
5 people went perfect. Worst loss, I'm going Cowboys. Are you gonna disagree with that?
yeah. I was going to throw the Jags in there as well. Uh, what happened to that? I mean, they got beat by 20 in London, which is their kind of home away from home by a rookie quarterback. Like, it's just not a good look at all for the Jags.
All right, I want to get into this. There are a lot of good quarterbacks in the league, and you kind of just throw a name out there, and you're like, oh yeah, like he'll get to a Super Bowl eventually. For some of these teams, like eventually is now. Like if it doesn't happen now, like it may never happen. I'm just like looking at some of these quarterbacks who are considered like great all time. Dan Marino, 1 Super Bowl appearance in his second season, never got back. Rodgers has like 1 Super Bowl appearance. Philip Rivers never got there. I'm looking at some of these names like Josh Allen. When you throw it out into the air, you're like, yeah, like he'll play in a Super Bowl eventually.
Mhm.
It's hard to get there. Like who's a
Yep.
quarterback or two in this league that you think are a stud name that may never get there?
And there's just like multiple number one picks that had a ton of hype. Like we just had talked about Trevor Lawrence, like you were saying, like that team's in shambles right now. Like there was so much hype with him coming out. Kyler Murray was another number one pick that had a ton of hype coming out. Uh, I'm have they might have made the playoffs, but they have not done anything as far as getting to an NFC Championship game, showing uh, any Super Bowl level football. It just, I mean, just because you have the number one overall pick, just because you're getting the best quarterback, it definitely does not guarantee that you're going to have results from that.
Yeah. Specifically, I'm looking right at Caleb Williams. Like with a quarterback of his caliber and the weapons they got around him, their next 4 years are their time window to get into a Super Bowl.
While he's on a rookie contract. Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm looking at their division. They got Jordan Love, Jared Goff, the Vikings. For the
Yeah.
next 4 years, those quarterbacks aren't going anywhere. Uh, that's a guy who you're like Caleb Williams, like, yeah, he's gonna have success and get to a Super Bowl. He may never get there, and he may be a great quarterback. It is just
Mhm.
extremely hard to get there. Josh Allen, he
Yeah.
has to get through Lamar or Patrick Mahomes every single year. There's a good chance he never gets there. It's crazy to think about.
Hmm.
All right, who's the next coach to be fired?
I think it's Doug Peterson.
I
I
agree.
think uh, they lose this game this weekend. I think it just straight up happens.
Yep.
You have uh, Shad Khan, I believe he's an English guy or based there. Like he's the reason that they play multiple games in London. He loves doing that. If you put up two stinkers in front of his, home crowd or whatever over in London, I think you're done.
All right. And what about Bill Belichick? Do you think he will coach again? And if so, where?
So I had mentioned it earlier, but I think the Giants are a perfect little spot for him. I think if they end up with about a top five pick, you're looking at, being in New York, you've got some young talent around him. Daniel Jones, you can get him out of there somehow, get you a quarterback, and then go make it work.
I don't, I like Brian Daboll way too much. I have way too much respect for Brian Daboll to throw Belichick into the coaching mix in the Giants.
Yeah,
I
but
think
if
the
they go
Giants could,
four and 13 or whatever, and he's gone,
no, Brian Daboll is one of those coaches that if you fire someone's going to hire him the next day. If
that's
he,
fine.
no, I think Bill Belichick will coach the Eagles. He's got all those weapons there. Uh,
Why? Why would he want to go there?
why would he want
Like,
to go to the
I just
Giants?
don't like. I just don't know why you'd want to go to Philly. Like, ugh. They do have a great team, and their fans are. It's just like
I guess maybe as a
you've done
Patriots
so
fan and
much
a
in your
Patriots
career. Like,
homer, I would hate to see Bill Belichick coaching the Giants.
yes,
Maybe
understood,
that's it, the internal
understood.
feel of like what it's like going from the Red Sox to the Yankees. It's like you wouldn't.
Yeah, I get that, but like when you've done so much in your career, you've won so many things. Like, why would you even bother subjecting yourself to like everything that comes with being a part of the Eagles organization? Like, the
The New
fans are
York fan
crazy.
base, the New York Giants fan base is not much different than the Eagles fan base.
Yes,
Philadelphia,
yes,
Northern
but
Jersey, New York, it's all this, it's all the same.
yes, but the Giants have been bad for a decent while now.
The Eagles'
So any little
expectations are higher.
any little bit of success is going to look real nice. Also, you come into a team like that with the Eagles potentially kind of falling off a peak, Cowboys definitely on a downturn. Commanders look like they're, getting things together, but still, like there is opportunity within that division in the next few years.
Well, it
Uh,
sounds like we both think Belichick is going to that division.
yeah,
So
I,
either
I don't
way.
know. I don't know if it'll happen, but if he does want to come back to coaching, I think that makes sense.
All right. New game this week. I don't know what to call it. I did not come up with a name for it, but I'm going to give you Aaron Rodgers or another quarterback, and you are going to tell me which quarterback you prefer. We're
Is
not
this
going to take,
strictly as far as
as of
quarterbacking my team,
quarterbacking your team for next week. No, don't take
not
salary
not
into
as
account.
GM, not as
Correct.
GM? Okay,
No, just quarterbacking your team. So we'll start here. Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott.
Dak,
I agree. Aaron Rodgers or Baker Mayfield.
Baker, he's playing insane right now.
Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's been playing great this year. I'll go Sam Darnold.
Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr.
Probably Aaron Rodgers on that one.
Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields.
If you can build the team properly around Fields, I think you can make it work. But I'll probably go Aaron Rodgers there.
All right, and last one. At the current moment, Aaron Rodgers or Joe Flacco.
Oh my gosh, uh, Joe Flacco for when Aaron Rodgers inevitably gets hurt in like week 7.
But that's just, I mean, that's showing you where we're at. I gave you Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr,
Yeah,
and you had to think about it.
yeah. I mean, he's been bad. He just, he's 40 years old and just coming off a major surgery, major injury. Like it's just not quite there.
All right, let's get into fantasy football. Crazy week in fantasy football. I thought I had a W almost locked up. I had a 98% chance of winning going into Monday night. What happened? James Cook doesn't play. I mean, I knew there was a chance he wasn't gonna, but the guy I'm playing has one player left, Alan Lazard, who needs to go off to beat me. And what does he do? Catch a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Went from 98% to 0% chance in less than 90 minutes. Oh my God. The amount of anger I felt last night watching that was very tough. Ugh. All right, let's get into our week 6 booms. Who do you got?
I shout out Bijan Robinson finally getting in the end zone twice, showing up against a bad Carolina Panthers team. Nothing, not a crazy week for him, but it was nice to see. Cole Kmet got in the end zone twice. He's looked really solid. It was against the Jaguars, so it doesn't really count, but still great week for him. Joe Mixon finally back healthy. Absolutely torched the Patriots. Got one on the ground, got one in the air, 100 yards. I mean, he looked really really explosive. He looked very good. Derrick Henry over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's on pace for like 25 touchdowns this year. Like, dude is going to be an animal for like the rest of the year. He's just running over dudes. It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be that age in a running back and still able to do that.
Yeah,
Then Jordan Love.
there's a guy in
Uh,
our league, Dustin, he's a Baltimore Ravens fan. And he drafts them every year in our league, but he drafted Lamar and Henry, and it's been a killer combo.
yeah,
I can't lie.
yeah. Then I'll shout out Jordan Love, four passing touchdowns against the Cardinals. When he's been healthy this year, he has been very good in fantasy. And then we touched on it, but Sean Tucker, and then also Chris Godwin against the Saints. Anytime your team's dropping 50 points, somebody's cooking, and it was those two guys this week.
Yeah, I like to shout out
And
the go for it.
final shout out, Chase Brown. I had
Mm.
Bengals -3.5. I was down 4 points in my matchup. He did not slide. He took it in the end zone, got me the win. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Our boy Taco got a pretty big parlay hit with that Chase
Yeah.
Brown touchdown
Oh yeah.
too. Couple hundred
Yeah, it did.
dollars there. That feels good. I like shutting out these defenses. Texans D, 17 points
Yeah.
against New England. Bucs D, 19 points versus the Saints. Uh, Caleb Williams, 28.6 points. I picked him up off waivers last week. He's starting to go up that board. Might hit my starting lineup at some point. I'll throw Kittle in there, 2 touchdowns, 23 fantasy points, and Zay Flowers in there at 22 fantasy points. I think it was his biggest yardage game he's ever had. Week 6 busts. Who busted? I'm gonna start with
Yeah.
James Cook. I know he didn't play, but 0 points. Your toes hurting, man. Your toes hurting. Wrap it up and play. Gosh.
A guy that has become all too common on this list, Brandon Ayuk, in a game that their offense moved the ball very well. They had almost 500 yards. He had 2 catches, didn't do pretty much anything. So another flop there. Travis Etienne, I know he got hurt, but like he was just horrible. Like Tank Bigsby has looked better. Jarvis Johnson has looked better. He has just looked bad. I don't know what the issue is there. Obviously, he's hurt now, but it has not been a good year at all for him.
I don't know if he's really hurt. It's a hamstring injury. That's one of those injuries where it's like, dude, you're not playing. It's a
Yeah,
Davante Adams hamstring injury. We can't.
uh, it has been rough. Chris Olave got hurt in that game and fumbled, so he ended up with negative points. So that's definitely a bust on the week.
Yeah.
James Conner did not have a good week at all against Green Bay. I'll throw Marvin Harrison in there as well. Neither of them got much of anything going. Marvin Harrison just laid an egg, and then
Well, no, he got a concussion. He's out.
yeah, he got hurt. Right, but he laid an egg. I mean, he got 0 points. And uh, Connor, I think he fumbled. He had like 20 yards. It just never really got anything going. His backups kind of outshined him a little bit there. Definitely a forgettable week. Trey Sermon, I started him because I didn't have great options at running back. I've never seen somebody have 18 touches before and not get 3 fantasy points. I didn't even know that was possible. He had 2.9 fantasy points on 18 touches. That might be one of the worst performances I've ever seen. I cannot wait to drop that guy like ASAP. Dak versus Detroit, pretty much all of the Cowboys were awful, but Dak especially. And then Zach Moss busted against the Giants. He is losing that job to Chase Brown. It's looking like um, he's probably not a reliable starter going forward.
Yeah, I said this last week. Do not start the Cowboys. They lost 5 points on defense. That is terrible. Mike Evans ended up on this bust list at 5 fantasy points,
Yeah,
despite the Bucs scoring
yeah.
51 points. And then I'm gonna throw Saquon on here. 7 points. That's not good for Saquon. He's your first round draft pick. Got to be getting more points than that. Let's move over into week 7 starts. Who you got? We do have the
All right.
Cowboys and Bears on bye this week.
This is the weekly start the pass catcher against the Jaguars segment. Demario Douglas, great week last week. He looks like he has a nice little connection with Drake Maye. He was really solid at the end of the year last year. A quick, shifty guy. Should be a good option in PPR, especially against this Jags defense. Definitely primed for a solid week. Uh, Kyle Pitts is playing the Seattle Seahawks this week. I think this could be a Kyle Pitts week. I don't say that lightly. He has flopped more times than not, but the Seahawks did just give up 2 touchdowns to Kittle. Their defense is not good right now, and I feel like this could be a Pitts week. And then lastly, Najee Harris had a big week this past week. We're dipping back into that again. He's playing the Jets. The Jets' run defense has been iffy at times. Ray Davis kind of exposed them a bit this week. I think if we see Russell playing, it will force them to have to play a little bit of coverage, a little bit more of a passing threat, open up some running lanes for Najee.
I like the Seattle pass catchers versus Atlanta. Lockett, DK, JSN. Atlanta's not rushing the quarterback well, so Gino's gonna have time to throw it. He's probably gonna be able to hit them. Tyreek and Waddle. If there's a defense that is really struggling, it's the Colts. They might be able to do something this week, so consider getting them back in your lineup. Carolina is absolutely terrible. So we're gonna get Eckler back in there. Last one I really like here is Jamison Williams versus Minnesota. Watching him on the screen, I mean, he's really coming along nicely. Goff likes throwing to him. I know the Minnesota defense is decent, but I have a feeling this Minnesota Lions game is going to be pretty high scoring, and I think Jameson's going to get a lot of touches there. Week 7 6 sits. SITS. Week 7 sits. Who do you
Sits.
got?
It is possible that Olave is out, but even still, I do not like Rashid Shaheed against the
He's a
Broncos.
little banged up.
Yeah, that pass defense is very strong, and I don't think that's a great matchup there, especially with probably Rattler playing quarterback again. Josh Downs has been fantastic last few weeks. He's playing the Dolphins. It looks like Anthony Richardson is going to be quarterback again, which means that passing game is about to fall off the planet again. So Josh Downs is not going to be a reliable starter. He's not going to be getting peppered, and probably not a good play this week. And then Gabe Davis actually had a good week this week against the Bears. Uh, Looks like he might be something going forward. He's playing the Patriots this week. I don't like that spot for him. You might be seeing a bit of Christian Gonzalez. I just don't think you're going to get lucky twice again with Gabe Davis.
All right. Tyrone Tracy had a good week last week. This week playing Philadelphia. They get Neighbors back. I think Tyrone Tracy's got to stay on the bench. I don't see them running very much against Philadelphia. Dalton Kincaid versus Tennessee. Tennessee's defense is solid. They got Amari Cooper coming in. Dalton Kincaid's his target share's already been pretty low. Bring another guy in. I don't like it versus a good defense. And then Vikings defense. They are the number 1 defense in fantasy. They're playing the Lions. I expect the Lions still to score 30 points. I don't like starting the Vikings D this week. Waiver wire. Who should people be looking at on the waiver wire? We've mentioned a lot of names over the past 45 minutes.
Yeah. One name at quarterback I'd like to key. Matt Stafford, if he's out there, I do think he's a not a bad grab right now. Even like buying low on him, whatever. He's got Cooper Kupp coming back in the near future. Puka's getting closer to coming back. He's playing the Raiders this week. Not a good passing defense. I think Matt Stafford's a nice little streaming option and potentially going forward for the next little bit, especially if Cooper Kupp looks pretty healthy when he comes back. We talked about Sean Tucker at running back. You got to go grab him if you can. Obviously, you're not going to be getting 40 every week from him, but he looks very explosive. Definitely looking like he might be carving out a role in that offense. Dearness Johnson looked like he was getting a decent bit of pass catching work. It looks like the Jags do not trust Tank Bigsby as far as blocking or catching the football. So any passing game work is going to end up being Dearness Johnson's, and I expect the Jags to be losing a lot of games. So it's a decent little spot to go grab him if this ETN injury is going to last. Then Kamani Vidal for the Chargers looked very
Crazy good
explosive in the
game
game.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice touchdown catch.
He was one of those preseason guys we talked about, but it took
Mhm.
till week 6 to really break him out.
Well, Gus Edwards was hurt, but I
Yeah.
mean, now you're J.K. Dobbins injury away from him being the guy there. And, you know, it, I think it's not a bad time to go grab him, stash him. Good player, and potentially could be a league winner if things fall right for him. And then at wide receiver, Alan Lazard uh, is potentially a stash. Obviously, with this Davante Adams trade, not great, but I, I still feel like Rodgers. Like I feel like Rodgers would just be like Garrett Wilson, go to the bench. Like Lazard, you stay in. Like it's very possible. I don't know. He just keeps scoring touchdowns. I think he's not a bad player to just go grab and keep on the bench. And then check on Jacoby Myers. Most people, or most leagues, he should be on a roster, but it is possible he has found his way onto waivers. Make sure that he's not out there because with Davante Adams leaving, this is a team that's still going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw to somebody. Brock Bowers is going to get a bunch, but Jacoby Myers should also get his too.
Yeah, you mentioned his name earlier, Demario Douglas. He seems like the guy that Drake May is going to be throwing to. He's playing the Jags this week. He might be a right-in plug and play
Mhm.
this coming week. The other one I like, Zach Ertz on the Commanders. They're playing Carolina this week. Carolina's defense is terrible. Zach Ertz has been getting some work. I could see a above 10-point game out of Zach Ertz this week. Let's get into the gambling. Gonna go through the lines. On Thursday night, we got a college football game. We got Bo Nix versus Spencer Rattler. No, I'm just kidding. We got Broncos at Saints. Saints getting 2.5. On Sunday from London, Pats at Jags. Jags minus 5.5. 1 p.m. Lions at Vikings. Vikings minus 2.5. Texans at Packers. Packers minus 3. Bengals at Browns. Browns plus 6.5. Titans at Bills. Bills minus 8.5. Eagles at Giants. Giants plus 3. Seattle at Falcons. Falcons minus 3. Dolphins at Colts. Colts minus 3. 4 p.m. window. We get Panthers at Commanders. Commanders minus 7.5. Raiders at Rams. Rams minus 6.5. Chiefs at 49ers. 49ers minus 1.5. Late night, we get Jets at Steelers. Steelers plus 1.5. On Monday, back to 2 games. Ravens at Bucs. Bucs plus 3.5. Chargers at Cards. Cards plus 2.5. What is the must-win game of the week?
I went back and forth on this. I'm gonna go with the Eagles though. I think the Eagles have to win this game. They're playing at the Giants, division game. They lose this game, like Sirianni. I mean, fans are gonna be calling for Sirianni's head. Uh, this is not a game you can lose.
I'm going with the Rams. Off a bye week, you're playing the Raiders, who suck. You're 1-4 currently. Your division is looking pretty weak. If they win this game, get back to 2-4, they get Cup back, get Puka back. They still have an outside shot there.
Mhm.
All right, let's go over our last week bets. I went 1-2. I am just having a absolute miserable time betting.
It's very impressive, actually.
It's very impressive. You went 3-0. You have now broke over the 500 barrier for the year. You're up to 9-8-1.
That's right.
I am 4-15. It's a joke.
Sorry.
It is a joke. From All
Vegas
right,
loves you, man.
let's get into our bets.
Everywhere I'm walking around here, they're like, "Oh, Evan Grennis. Oh, we love him. He pays all our bills."
I have a great opportunity here to go on a hot streak to finish the season above 500. I will get back to above 500 by the end of the year. Mark my words. All right, this week, what are the bets?
All right, starting off strong. I'm taking the Lions plus 2.5 at Minnesota. I do think the Vikings are legit. I do think they are a good football team. But this Detroit team is playing some very, very good football. I know they just lost Hutchinson, but I think this is a good spot for them, getting some points. I think they win this football game. Next, I will take the Chiefs on the road at San Fran plus 1.5. Uh, Obviously, huge game for both these teams. Chiefs off a bye though. Andy Reid off a bye. Don't mess with that. Chiefs have gotten better each week, in my opinion, and I think they win this football game. And lastly, we are taking the Washington Commanders minus 7.5 at home against the Panthers. Uh, Basically, the Panthers will not stop the Commanders the entire game. So all that I'm doing with this bet is just banking on the Commanders stopping the Panthers twice for the whole game. If they stop them twice for the whole game, this bet hits.
Yeah. If we were doing four bets, I would have thrown Commanders in there. I really like that 7.5 number, and I agree with you. My three. I'm starting off Thursday night. Broncos minus 2.5. Sean Payton returning to New Orleans. I said it earlier. Go Google New Orleans depth chart on offense and defense. They have absolutely everybody injured and Spencer Rattler starting. So I like the Broncos getting a win there. Giants +3. I think the Eagles are terrible. They're at home. It's a divisional matchup. I like the Giants winning this game. I think they're a better team than their record says. They're getting neighbors back. Giants +3. And then I'm taking the Bengals -6.5. I think that they absolutely destroy the Browns. If you're on the Browns and you just traded away Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson is your starting quarterback, like what are you guys like? What is that locker room like before a game? It can't be great. I think the Bengals absolutely roll the Browns here and get a win. All right. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at screenplay_podcast. New episodes every Wednesday, 8 a.m., wherever you listen to podcasts. Andrew's in Vegas this week. Good luck. The Raiders are not home. I think they're away.
No,
Yeah.
they had a home game this week. There were a lot of Steelers fans walking around.
Oh yeah, that was a big story. I think the Steelers had a home game in Vegas. Was
Yeah.
the
There were so many Steelers fans.
You saw a lot of terrible towels.
Uh, it was a lot of Steelers fans. I mean, they travel very well.
All right. Good luck this week. Good luck to myself in my betting endeavors. I need it. All right.
Cheers.
We will see you all next week. Appreciate you guys listening. Enjoy week 7 of football.
I love you, Chase Brown.